Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World. This video is another one of my history book reviews where I take some history books and review them for you. It's as simple as that. The first one that I have to share with you is Courtiers, The Secret History of the Georgian Court by Lucy Worsley. I've read a Lucy Worsley book before and I do really enjoy her documentaries. The book that I read on hers before was the book on Queen Victoria and I really liked that. I thought that was a really good book. This book I've had on my wish list for absolute years, and when I came across it in my local independent bookshop, I was like, yes, I will get it. And so I picked it up, read it, and was, in all fairness, a little bit disappointed, but I do think it's my fault. So, this book is about the history of the Georgian court, but it's not on a broad spectrum, and I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought it was literally the broad spectrum on like a macro level of the Georgian court. But what Lucy's done, which is quite clever and fair dues to her, is that she's taken the Georgian court, but she's talking about it, but using certain individuals from court as, like, I suppose, case studies, as examples of what she's discussing in each topic. And yeah, fine, fair dues. It's not really what I thought it was, and therefore I was a little bit disappointed, but as I said, I think that's my fault. Probably should have looked into it a little bit more, which is surprising because, as I said, I had this on my wish list for years. So, oopsie daisy. It's still a good book, and I still liked it. I just didn't love it as much as I thought it would. I would still like to read more on the Georgian court, definitely more on that broader spectrum scale. I find case studies and things like that, I do find them that I have to be really in the mood for them. I think because I did it so much at university, you know, you do so many case studies when you're at uni and stuff like that, and like now I'm doing my masters, I'm again looking at certain little nitty-gritty bits and stuff, and it's like I just wanted bigger stuff. So yeah, it's a good book and I would recommend it, but yeah, make sure it's for you first. I still liked it. It's still a 3-star book, but just not what I thought it was. The next book that I read and want to talk to you about is one that I featured on my Instagram. Actually, I think I featured all of these books on my Instagram, so go and have a look at it, but this is really, really pretty. This is The Women's Suffrage Movement by Molly Howzigo and Neil R. Story. Apologies if I've got that wrong. This book is part of the Shire Library series, so they're only thin books. Excuse me. Only thin little books, but they are wonderful at kind of being a compendium of what the topic that the book is on was like. So this is, of course, on the women's suffrage movement. So we talk about the very early stages, and we go all the way through to war, discussing things like the WSPU, the Women's Social Political Union, and you'll get to see some very famous faces. That's Annie Kenney, she was a mill worker. Oh, there's Emily Pankhurst there, and oh, they're her daughters there as well. So, oh, there's a big one. That's Emily Pankhurst, that's a big one. It's really good, this book. However, I would say this is for beginners. I've got it in my collection because I'm nuts on the women's suffrage movement. I cannot get enough at all, and I want to read everything. So I've got it just to have it. And I would say if you would like an introduction into the women's suffrage movement, actually this is a really, really good place to start with because it's fantastic and you can learn so much. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. And then last but not least, I actually have a children's non-fiction book, but I saw this in my little independent bookshop and I had to get it. So this is Little Elizabeth, The Young Princess Who Became Queen by Valerie Wilding and Pauline Reeves. This is lovely. Initially, of course, I was attracted to it by the wonderful artwork, but this book is a children's non-fiction book about the history of Queen Elizabeth II and her essentially growing up to her then becoming queen, and that's where it stops. It stops when she ascends to the throne. So we talk about her birth, her family, and of course the difficulties that happened when her uncle was king, but then he of course abdicated, and her father, who was never meant to be king, became king. And then of course we have to have the death of her father, who died very young really, for her then to become queen. And this was actually really interesting. I learnt quite a bit. Despite the fact that it is a children's book, I did learn stuff. Ashamedly, I don't really look into the history of our current monarchy. However, that is something that I'm really trying to change. Like, monarchy within the last 100 years, the 20th century certainly is something that I do really need to look into, and I'm starting to do that, and this is something that really helped me because I found it really interesting actually to learn about her and her relationship with her family. Fun fact for you, Lil, so me, the reason why I'm called Lil, so Lil is for me shortening for Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my middle name, and I was named Elizabeth for a couple of reasons, one of which was after Queen Elizabeth II, and the reason why I'm called Lil is my dad calls, so when I'm at home, my dad calls me Lil or Lilibet, which is from what the king called Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, to her father, was known as Lil Lilibet, and hence why I am Lil. Fun fact for you, so there you go. So there we have it. Those are some books that I have been reading recently in terms of the old nonny fiction. Actually not a lot of pages between them, but actually I enjoyed them all. Some much more than others, but yeah, all of them good books and certainly recommend. So let me know what non-fiction books you have been reading recently, and I love to chat to you in the comments section, so please chat away. I hope you're having a lovely day. Take care, and I shall see you soon for our next video. Bye for now.